Alright, guys, I want to talk to you today about locomotives and basically the different companies that make these locomotives. Um, I have right here 7 of them. They are all different manufacturers. What the idea is behind this is that I'm going to talk about what is worst to best. I'm going to start out with what I consider to be the worst companies, to the middle, to the best. Don't mind the squeaking, that's just the dog. But anyway, what I want to do is I'm going to start out, like I said, with the ones that I consider to be the worst, and then finish with what I consider to be the best. Now, when I mean like worst to best, I'm talking about running reliability, digital reliability. I don't care about the sound. The sound to me is irrelevant. Like, for example, you have here one of the manufacturers still uses Tsunami as an example. I know some people that's a controversy because Tsunami is like, it's, we'll get to that. Versus other ones that are, most of these are all using lock sound except for 2. So we're going to get to that detail, all this. I know there are going to be some people may not be happy with the way I have things listed out because some people have had other experiences. This is just my opinion of how I think they are based on what I have dealt with, what I have looked at, what I have owned even, and what I've experienced. So don't get upset if I diss one of your brands that you are a fan of, because I can already hear now, somebody go, oh, my brand, you ruined it for me. Hey, if it's a brand you love and it works for you, makes you smile, hey, be happy with it. Don't take my opinion as being the gospel. Some people do that. I'm not expecting people to do that. I'm just going by my experiences of what I think is worst to best. There's some brands that are not here listed because I didn't own them or really experience them, so I can't speak to them. Like, for example, I think Intermountain and River Rossi and American and Roco and some other ones. Now, those are foreign, manufacturers, but I have not really had much experience with them, so I can't say anything bad about them. So I'm not going to talk, garbage on them. I'm pretty sure Intermountain has reliability from what I've heard. I've never heard anything bad about them. River Rossi, I've never heard anything bad either. So, like I said, I can't say anything bad about them. Now, I will list out the worst one, I think. Now, this is one I have experienced only from testing and from other people have told me, is MTH. Now, we're not going to get into MTH's O scale because, again, this is about HO, not O. I will say I've had problems with their O scale before, with their digital boards, and they have had problems in that. And I can already hear the MTH people, already having an aneurysm. But however, hey, if you guys have had good experiences, good. But overall, like their HO especially, I tested a couple engines and then found out after I tested them, when I turned them down, that they died because their boards blew out. So, and I've never heard anything good about their HO. Now, Lionel's HO, I can't say anything about it because they're never tried anything with them. I know they use old Model Power tooling on their stuff, and Model Power was so-so. But again, I can't say anything bad about them because, again, I've never played with their stuff, so they've been left out too. But MTH I have had experience with just a little bit, but again, not enough to say, okay, this is really bad. It is really bad, but, but that's been proven. So we'll get started. I'll have each locomotive on the screen then as is because I have these all laid out here, but we'll start with each one separately. Now, before I start on about this locomotive and its brand, I want to talk first of all that I missed one when I was talking about MTH. The next one up beyond that is Bachman. Now, Bachman has gotten a little better. When I was a kid, Bachman, unless you had Bachman Plus for Spectrum, was just garbage. Their trains wouldn't last. Their Bachman Plus was actually a decent line. It actually was really good runners. I had a couple of engines of that when I was a kid. They're really inexpensive. They're really good. Kind of wish something like that would exist again, but talking about their current line, like I said, they have gotten better. But my complaint the reason I put Bachman still at the bottom is because I still don't trust them a lot. And because of their past. And I can also attest to that because I did buy a modern Bachman locomotive not that long ago. A couple years ago, I bought when they did their run of Russian decapods. The locomotives came with a belt drive, which is ancient. I mean, you're charging $400 to $500, depending on which hobby store you go to, and you're putting a belt drive in. Really? The only redeeming quality was the TCS Wow sound with the Keep Alive, but still, for that kind of money, I expect a better thing. At the low speed steps, it would stutter when it ran because of the belt slipping. So that was just a poor design. They should never have done that. They should have redone it when they were charging that much. But again, that's why I put Bachman at the bottom. I put above MTH, but still at the bottom. And I know a lot of people like Bachman because they're cheap, but you get what you pay for. Just remember that. Just like MTH. MTH was cheaper, but again, you get what you pay for. Same thing with their O-scale line. You get what you pay for. So, but anyway, that's just, I went off a tangent there. But anyway, we're going to start with this guy. This is a Broadway Limited NW2. Now, everybody knows in the community the BLI can be hit or miss. Anybody who's ever owned them knows that BLI's had a lot of issues over the years with their quality control. And I'm not going to say they're bad. Their sounds are really, really pretty good. I will say some of their sound files are a little dated, like with their steam engines, because I own 3 of their I1 decapods from their Penzi versions, and the Penzi's 3-chime whistle needs to be updated, or they need to find a better sound file. But the biggest problem is their Paragon system. It has always been a hit or miss thing. I've lost a couple engines already because their system farted out. So, and also the decapods that I talked about, if you run the smoke units in them, they're known for their boilers to split open. Because the smoke units, I guess, get overheated and they crack the boilers, which are made out of plastic. They're not die-cast metal. If they were die-cast metal, the boilers would be fine. But they're plastic. So, that's the one thing. If you're going to buy BLI engines, always check and see what the quality is if you don't want to have to send it back to the manufacturer or be frustrated. So, always something to keep in mind when you're doing Broadway Limited. Now, their diesels, again, I've run into lemons with them too. There was this Conrusty 4-2 I wanted. Well, here it ended up dying when we were testing it. And same thing, I bought this AC 6000 brand new. Bubba. Sorry, the dog sorry about that bump. The dog nudged the thing. Lay down, buddy. Lay down. Anyway, sorry about that. Well, when I bought the AC 6000, it was a CSX. The ditch lights didn't work. Which, I'm one that myself is, you know what? As long as the sounds work and the electronics work, and at least I have enough headlight to see with, I can overlook some things. But if the locomotive doesn't want to run, then that's a problem. Even this NW2 here, I don't know if it's if the wheels get dirty on these things. Like, it seems like seems like Broadway's wheels do not like dirt at all. Even a speck of dirt seems to interrupt them. And this actually has a Keep Alive in it. But overall, like, their stuff isn't terrible. It's just their quality could be better. And from what I understand, they are going to be implementing a DCC ready thing from now on, which I'm happy for because that means we can put the stuff in that we want. Hopefully it'll make Broadway's quality a lot better. Like I said, I'm not overly thrilled with their Paragon. But, if you want steam engines, unfortunately, they're only one of two manufacturers that really care at this point. As far as making a lot of steam, Bachman being the other one. I know Repido is starting to do their steam as well, but most of it at this point is Canadian-based roads. So, yeah, Repido we'll get to eventually, but that's still down the road yet here. So, again, like I said, I put these guys at the bottom of the list of the 7 I have sitting here. All right, now stepping up the list in quality, we have Bowser. Now, I know some of you are having heart attacks at this point. What do you mean, Bowser? Why? Why? They're good. Yes, they are, to an extent. And before you all start getting up in arms, hear me out. Bowser's had their quality control problems over the years. And there are some things that they could do better. For example, on this guy. One of the things a complaint that I had and other people did, this locomotive costs $260 at the hobby shop. So, here's a little thing. It has lock sound. This is actually a good runner. This one actually ran good. One reason I say I had some issues with lemons, a while back they ran some Penske E25Bs. Some of these had the train phone antenna like this one does, and they had this pulsing problem. I don't know if it was an out of balance flywheel or what, but they would pulse weird. They would jerk back and forth as they ran at slow speeds. At higher speeds, you didn't notice it. At slow speeds, you really did. And it was pretty much all of them. So that's why I say that Bowser's not high on the list of quality, because they've had issues. They also have, in the past, had problems detailing stuff properly, but as I said, we're going by running reliability more than we are anything else. And the other thing I was going to point out here is these number boxes on each end here, they don't light up. Why Bowser chose not to do that when there's plenty of space inside of this that they could have easily put. They could have put fiber optics in there. They didn't. So that's the biggest complaint that I have of this model. And then the other models that they've recently done where they could have put lighted number boards in. And that's another thing too. Some of the companies, this is a big complaint that I have with them, they're charging huge dollars. And Bowser's on the lower end of the price range. They're not the highest end. But, I mean, they still are high enough that they could do the details. Same with a lot of the other companies. I mean, could it hurt for you guys seriously out there anybody in the manufacturers are listening to put KD couplers on your engines instead of these crap couplers that we keep getting? I mean, you guys are charging huge dollars, and then we still have to spend another $2 or $3 to put couplers on. I know that's not a lot of money, but come on. You got to flip these locomotives upside down. You got to try to put the KDs on without breaking the details off. And it's a pain. At least you guys could throw us a bone in that department. That would be nice. I mean, all of them. So, but yeah, like I said, Bowser, at least though, it's reliable enough in the running. Like this one, and I have another one, which is in Milwaukee Road. They were pretty decent runners. But like I said, I'm just going by what I've experienced. So now we're going to move to the next one. All right, now, next on the list on the quality going up is scale trains. Now, I can already hear the scale train fans having heart failure on this because it's not at the top. But hear me out before y'all start going up in arms and have mutinies. Scale trains has had issues. And not so much in a reliability department, because I have not run their stuff hard enough to see what it would do. But they have had issues where paint has been off, decals have been in the wrong places, lights have been out. I've bought stuff in the past where light bulbs were burned out in a couple places, in which I overlooked because, it happens in real life. And I just like, you know what? As long as it runs, as long as the DCC works, I don't care. I mean, that's just minor. But there's also been other things too where detail parts have fallen off. Now, I am kind of being unfair with this one because this one is their museum quality SDL 39. But I would rather pick the best representation of each company that I have, which is the top of the top. I mean, for detailing, it scores high. But running, I have not run these hard enough to see if they would last a long time. But, one complaint I do have with Lock Sound, and I forgot to mention this with Bowser, is Lock Sound. I don't know if the Lock Sound 5 has a timer or a memory thing that causes it to forget itself. But I've had these engines programmed to their cab numbers only to not run them for a couple months, go back to put them on the track, and they won't run. Now, if you reset the decoder to, do a factory reset, which is CV8 on the DCC, it will run again. So I don't know, it's just some kind of memory failure. But other than that, I don't mind scale trains. They were the first to really implement a keep alive in their locomotives before everybody else started doing it. But as I said, I can't say that they're at the top of the list because I don't know how reliable they are at long runs. Other than that, I'm still a scale trains fan because their stuff is that good. It could be better, though. And again, like I said, this is my honest opinion. This isn't me kissing the manufacturer's rear ends or anything. I'm just being real. Each company has its highs and its lows. It's just how it is. Scale trains had its problems too in quality, so it's not just the lower manufacturers. All of them do. I mean, this is just the world we're in now. So that's all I have to say with scale trains. Like I said, I've even met the owner. Good dude. Loves the hobby. But other than that, I mean, I'm not gonna put his at number one unless I really think it is. So again, they're still good though. I mean, I wouldn't say never buy a scale train engine. I still buy them, even though they're not on the top of the list. All right, now we are moving into fourth from the top. And I know this one's probably going to really spark some comments, but I don't know and I don't care. We're now talking about Repido. Now I know there's going to be Repido loyalists. They're going to be like, what? Well, here's the thing about Repido. I have not owned too many of their engines. I've only owned, I think this is I want to say fourth one maybe. And this one wasn't cheap. This is the first time, other than the museum quality that I bought, that I've reached over $300 on a HO engine. And this isn't even Scale Train's museum quality. This is just the normal standard line of engines that Repido released. However, detailing score, they got a very high one because Repido goes all out. Sound-wise, they have improved. I know in the past, Repido didn't seem to care about the sound too much. It was more about the detailing. And I used to draw a lot of complaints from people, including myself, that, the sounds were too low, which they were, which is one reason why I probably didn't keep the other engines that I had from them, because I didn't care for the sound being low. But this one has definitely been an improvement. It's beautifully detailed, but again, I don't know how reliable they are in the running to the point where I can put them at the top. Because if this thing was very reliable, it would be up even higher. But I do know they're good. They're decent runners at least. I've never heard anybody say they don't run good. So that's why it's up where it's at. Other than that, like I said, high details, score for that. Repidos guys, they are definitely train nerds. If you guys ever watch their YouTube channel, and if you've never watched their YouTube channel, I recommend highly you do it because those guys have a passion for the hobby that goes above and beyond what most do. So you definitely want, you want to check out their YouTube channel. Their products, while pricey, are definitely worth everything you buy from them. I know there's some people complain about the prices with them, but again, you're paying for high detailing. You're paying for a lot of work you'd have to spend hours on doing yourself. That is the one thing I know guys complain about the hobby being expensive. It is expensive, but guess what? There's more expensive vices out there. Let's say, for example, real quick, we're running off another tangent here, but let's talk about guys that, get into automobiles, like an old, like, say, 65 Mustang. You're spending tens of thousands of dollars on a single car. And again, those guys have that passion. This thing's only $300 and the work has already been done for you. You don't have to go through all the detailing yourself. It's beautifully done. All the sound is in, all the stuff. It's got Lock Sound 5. It's a very good speaker in there. You would have to spend all that money. Yeah, and actually, you'd probably spend even more money, and the result won't look as good as this. That's one thing I've seen guys do custom work. The result's is usually not as good as the factory job. So again, you got to take your good with your bad. If you want to save money, then you know what? Do the work yourself, but you're probably not going to be as satisfied as buying a factory model. So I'm just putting that out there. For those who complain about the cost, this is something to think about. So done with the Repido, and we're going to move up the next level. Okay, now we move on the third on the list from the top, and this is Atlas. Now, detailing wise, Atlas gets a lower score because they don't always put a lot of details in their stuff. They have improved, but some detailing they kind of skimp on. Like, for example, with this guy. One thing that's missing on this model is, unless you're modeling 1966, there's no antenna on top. That's one thing. Another thing, the horn is not correct. Penske used by this point was getting Leslie S3Ls on their locomotives. These are just normal, what I call blat horns. And I know from pictures that I have seen of these engines, they definitely had that. So that's my rant on that. But other than that, and the same thing with them is, like I said before, they put these weird couplers on them. When I took them apart, I was like, what in the world was this? Some two-piece thing. And I put KDs on. But other than that, Atlas is a good runner. And they're actually a little cheaper than some of the other manufacturers. You can still get Atlas engines right now at some of the hobby retailers for around $200 to $220 if you find some. It may not have the paint scheme you like, but if you want an engine with sound and repaint it, it's a good way to save some money. And still get Lock Sound 5 already installed. But other than that, the running, Atlas is like one of the brands that'll run a long time without having problems. I've never had an Atlas engine with an issue. The only reason why it's lower on the level is, again, because of the detailing, or lack thereof. But if you want an engine that's not going to cost you a lot, compared to, like, say, Scale Trains or Repido, and then the one that I'm going to get to eventually, this is the way to go as far as, like, having something decently priced. The headlight's pretty bright on this one. I actually like that because one of the complaints I have with the manufacturers is they don't ever get the headlights correctly lighted either sometimes, because if you ever watch a train at night, and even, I remember my days as a kid or a teenager when I helped work a dinner train in the county I live in, that headlight would cut through the trees, even on the older locomotives. These locomotives don't do it as much, but this one will. So I do like that. But like I said, detailing aside, this thing runs good. And I've had Atlas engines in the past. I don't have a lot of them because I buy and sell engines all the time because, I buy stuff, check it out, and then I get tired of it, sell it. I'm trying to get to where I'm not doing that as much. Like Penske and Milwaukee Road, if you notice, seems to be a common thing. I pretty much narrowed it down to those two, but that's a whole other tangent that we're just going on. So we're going to go to the next thing now. So, all right, now this is the second from the top. This is now getting into the Walthers. When I say Walthers, I include the mainline as well because both pretty much use the same chassis and motors. So I'm not going to put Walthers mainline in there because there's no reason to. It's both the same company, same quality. And detailing on the Walthers Proto, they have really gotten good over the last few years. Walthers Proto used to be lifelike Proto 2000. And Proto 2000, for anybody who's older, remembers back in the day, that was, other than the years cracking on them, they were really well detailed for the time. But now, Walthers Proto has really, really stepped up the game. They have made it good for like getting prototypes. And, overall, like a lot of the manufacturers really stepped it up, but that's because I think because Scale Trains and Repido made them do it. That's just, again, my opinion, observation from watching the hobby over the last few years. And hey, the manufacturers need to step it up. Like I said, Atlas has gotten behind in the previous locomotive. They've gotten a little bit better, but they got ways to go yet. But back to this. This one here, like I said, this is one of the ones I've held on for a while. And, like I said, with Walthers, the biggest thing for me is that they run good. In fact, they're, like I said, Atlas, them guys, and then the last one we'll get to. Those are ones, if I really want to run, like operational wise, these are the ones I'd go to first. Because I've had nothing but good experiences with them for the most part. The only exception I ever had on a Walthers engine was I had a bad speaker in one of the Lock Sound GP9s that I'd bought that was Milwaukee Road. And I hope, they're supposed to be running another batch of them, and I hope they improve the speakers on them. I mean, the speaker on this one's good. Can't complain about this one. Detailing's been well done. And, again, Lock Sound 5. And that brings up another complaint that I forgot as well when I was saying about the couplers. And this goes for the next one, too. And in fact, actually, I might just save that rant when we get to it. So, I actually will do that. So, just hanging in there. We'll get to it. Like I said, Walthers, the price is actually reasonable. Their Walthers mainline, is really reasonably priced. If you want something for under 180, if you want something 180 and under roundabouts for, I know the price is getting up there a little bit, but if you want a good budget DCC, Walthers mainline is the way to go. Their stuff's inexpensive, runs good, and it's still cheap compared to a lot of everybody else. So I have no complaints about that. And actually, that brings up something as well I forgot to mention, too, when I was saying about Scale Trains. They also had an operator series. Now, I haven't seen anything lately, so I guess they must have given up on it. But their operator series was decent, too. It actually ran decent. And the price was actually really decent. So, sorry I forgot to mention that, but I figured I'd bring it up while I was thinking about it. But, alright, we're going to get to the last one now. And this one's probably going to surprise a lot of people, but I think you know what brand we're going to be talking about. So I'm sure a lot of you are probably not surprised that the last brand I will be talking about is Athearn. And I'll go into many reasons on this one. Now, this includes Athearn Genesis, which that's what this model is, Athearn Ready to Roll, and Athearn Roundhouse. And even going back in the days of the Blue Box brand. Athearn has been a long time, as far as I'm concerned, the most reliable running company that if you want to run trains, and I mean not, toot them around a little bit for a couple of hours and then, you're done for the night. I mean, if you want to run and run and run and run. These are the trains that you want if you want reliability as far as operations. Because they will last a long time. Very rarely do I ever hear of anybody ever having a problem with them. Every Athearn engine I've ever bought, whether sound or no sound, DCC or no DCC, I've never had one issue with. They always ran. Now, I'm not going to say that they haven't had their issues that I didn't like. There's many complaints that I've had with some of the things, but it has nothing to do with the running capabilities. One of the complaints were now that I had was, see, this is an older model, so the lights on this are actually normal bulbs. They're not LEDs. This is the older model of Genesis. It's still the blue box Genesis, not the yellow box. But Athearn finally, in the last few years, finally stepped it up with LED light bulbs. And that made me happier because I didn't like the fact that bulbs were always so dark. Because again, as I said before, light bulbs are not dark. The light bulbs on real trains are not dark. I mean, I have trains passing my house every night and every day. At nighttime, that headlight you shine right through the trees. I can see it out my window. So, and that's all I know. And as I said, even older locomotives, their headlights cut pretty good through the trees. But Athearn in recent times has also stepped up their detailing game again because of scale trains and Repido, making everybody realize that they need to step up. Because us modelers, one of the biggest things I was flocking to these things is the detailing that we don't have to do. And, but the biggest complaint that I have, though, with Athearn is nothing to do with them themselves. It's the sound company they use. I don't have anything against Tsunami and their soundtracks, but there's a lot of things that they can improve, and they have started getting better. I have 2 Milwaukee GP9s downstairs that I recently acquired. They're pretty much brand new for this year, released. They've gotten better, but I think they could do even more. And this brings up to the complaint that I mentioned in the last locomotive. This is 2 manufacturers that are not using keep alives. Why are you not putting them in your locomotives when you're charging $280 to $300 for these things? Does it kill to put a $5 to $10 keep alive in them? Come on, guys. Excuse me. You guys are charging way too much. As far as I'm concerned, if you're not going to put a keep alive in, but you're going to charge the same price as Scale Trains who does, even Broadway Limited and Bachman are putting them in. And those are the bottom tier guys on this list. I mean, come on. You guys are charging a lot of money for this stuff. And again, like I said, not that we're hugely complaining or I'm hugely complaining, but, keep alive makes a huge difference. If you have a spot on your track that even if you cleaned it still for some reason seems to be weird. I mean, I'm not an electronic wizard. I don't like wiring anyway. And it's nice to be able to go over a frog on a switch and not have to worry about the locomotive losing sound briefly because of the frog. And I mean, now the switches have gotten better with that, but would it kill to spend a couple extra bucks on each locomotive to put a keep alive in if you're going to charge a premium price? I mean, I think it's only a little fair. Even if you had to charge a couple extra dollars for the keep alive on the locomotive models, I think most of us would overlook that and forgive that. Just so that we don't have to worry about our locomotives losing sound every time we run them. And again, that's just a request. I mean, come on. I mean, you guys are charging a lot. But anyway, that's just my rant on that. But like I said, Athearn and Walthers I will run the most. Because again, I trust them the most. Like I said, all the manufacturers on this list. It's obvious that I have there's some redeeming qualities, or I wouldn't own any of them. So before you guys get upset about the fact that, again, I put these two at the top, there's reasons why I put them up there. But again, that's my experience. You guys probably have an experience differently. I know that could spark big debates on who's better. I'm not saying that Athearn's better than everybody else. Again, you heard what I had to say about, what I feel about their sound system and the fact that they don't put a Keep Alive in or even KD couplers. That was the other thing. Athearn doesn't either. Use McHenry's. Again, you have to waste time flipping the locomotive over and risking breaking stuff off trying to put better couplers on. Because KDs are the best couplers on the market when you're trying to do switching and operations. I think, again, if for Athearn to charge what they're charging, they could afford to sign a deal with KD to start marketing their couplers instead of McHenry's. That's just my opinion. I'm not in charge of those companies, but, I'm just the guy who's buying their stuff. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm allowed to have my opinion on that one. Because I'm paying the money for this stuff to pay their jobs. So, like I said, that's, again, my opinion about Athearn. Alright, so in closing, I just want to say that, no matter what my opinion is on these brands, some of them may match your opinion, some of them may not. Just remember, if you like what you get and it works for you, then hey, buy it. Don't just go off what I had to say. Like I said, if you want operational reliability, these two are the way to go. And even this guy. You like the detailing, and you're not worried about running into too much, these two guys here, Scale Trains Repido, they go all out. And they're, like, as far as, like, the detailing, they're top tier. And again, Bowser and Walthers, those two have stepped up their detailing game. Even Athearn started to. But like I said, the only redeeming quality that, like I said, is with BLI right now is that they have a Keep Alive. And that's why I said, I'm hoping everybody else soon starts putting Keep Alives in their stuff eventually. That would be helpful. But again, like I said, just my viewpoints on this, on the manufacturers. Don't take it as being, this is the way to go just because I said it. Find what works for you. If you buy the other manufacturers out them dying on you, then good. You found that, that means they stepped it up. But like I said, if you want running reliability, Athearn, Walthers, Atlas. Those are the three that I would pick over everybody else just because of that. If you just want to do operations. If you have to paint some of the stuff, then hey, do it. But like I said, this is just my opinion. And, so don't get too mad. Don't get too upset. I know people get passionate about this stuff like people do the sports teams and other things. But at the end of the day, it's a hobby. We all do this to escape reality in life and to enjoy ourselves and to just relax. So don't get too upset about it. And I will catch you guys. Have a Merry Christmas. And I'll see you guys in whatever video comes down the road. Catch you guys in the next one, which I stopped saying that earlier, but yeah. But anyway, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And see you guys later.